How's everybody doing today?
Sort of awake.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
I had an interesting insight this morning that I could share with you. I could feel my mood. It felt like my mood was a little down or depressed. And I started sort of, when it wasn't conscious, sort of looking for something that was troubling me to attach to the mood. And what I realized was that I actually had a restless night's sleep and I was just feeling tired. And this search to attach some meaning to it was so automatic. It's like, really, nothing is actually that I'm aware of is troubling me right now. But I immediately went to sort of look for cause and assign some sort of interpersonal reason, which was very interesting. And I said, no, I think I'm just tired. A little restless. I had a restless night's sleep. And that's just what it is.
I love that, actually, because I find I've caught myself recently once or twice in a similar place where I was able to see while it was happening that that's what I was doing. And it's an old habit.
Great. Right. Yeah. And that moment of seeing that you're doing that can be like so liberating. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I always want to know that there is a reason. I always think there should be a reason. And there might be all these other reasons, but they're not the reason. I have to find the reason. And usually isn't one. There's a lot of them.
Right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry to be a minute late.
No worries. Good morning, Helene.
Good morning.
We were just sharing with each other this insight sometimes when there was for me this morning, I noticed a little bit of a kind of a low mood, a little bit of almost crankiness. And I immediately went to assign a reason to it. Well, what's going wrong in my life? What is it I don't like that's happening? And then I realized it was like, well, I just had a restless night's sleep and I was tired. And there really wasn't anything like that. And so we were just sharing with each other.
Any deep inner meaning.
That's right. Exactly.
Something practical. There's both.
Right.
I'm in a different place this morning. The last couple of weeks, I have been in our house in coastal South Carolina. So I was sitting on a porch in a rocking chair, looking out on a tidal creek and the marsh grass and the live oaks. And now today I'm back in my house in Bethesda. And I'm not quite sure where to sit and how to be. So
you're still looking for your spot, right?
I'm still looking for my spot and how to position myself to sit and be and be with you all. So I think even putting words to that helps.
Yeah, good. Yeah, right. We all have we find our spots usually where we sit. So I want to do things a little bit differently today. I want to introduce, it's a little bit more of me talking, but we'll have a kind of a contemplation in the middle where we'll do some more meditation. So I wanted to introduce this method or way of mindfulness that's called insight dialogue. And it's about bringing mindfulness to our interpersonal behavior, our how we are with each other. And the way this kind of came about for me is maybe some of you have done some retreats or just when you're in your sitting practice, it can be very much an internal practice. Even though like we're practicing to wake up in the world, it can be very internal, and it doesn't include oftentimes how we're relating to each other. But I think that's where the action is in how we're doing our relationships. So also I was noticing that some dissatisfaction on meditation retreats, that we don't talk to each other. We do very little talking, as a matter of fact. They're silent retreats except for when we have interviews with the teachers. And so I thought, I want to learn how to bring this practice into my daily life. I want to learn how to bring this practice to be mindful and compassionate and wise with my relationships. So I began to wonder more about how to do this practice so-called off the cushion, off of whatever seat we find is our spot, right? And so in 2007, Gregory Kramer wrote a book called Insight Dialogue, which is this book here. And this is its second edition. And he's written another one since then, I believe. And so he goes into an explanation of the Buddhist principles quite a bit in pretty much the first half of the book, because it does follow the teachings of the Buddha. But he is emphasizing this practice as an interpersonal practice. And so here's a quote that that comes from the book. He says, "Humans are a social species. The path is presented in Insight Dialogue as encompassing our innately inescapable social nature. The Dharma is offered in very direct human terms, and so must include our relational lives. The particular practice offered here as a part of that path, Insight Dialogue, is both a lifestyle practice and a practice for deep retreat. It fills out that part of the path that has been most neglected, the interpersonal, enabling profound serenity and insight, along with fully engaged compassion. The wisdom that arose from the issues of the Buddha's human experiences addresses the issues we face daily. After all, the elevated and mundane are intertwined in this shared human experience." I love the last line, "The elevated and mundane are intertwined in our human experience." So we, as we practice these wisdom practices, we're also practicing brushing our teeth and driving our cars and going to the grocery store or interacting with each other. So Insight Dialogue harnesses the power of mutual support and interpersonal responsiveness in service of clear understanding and release. So the practice is usually done in pairs or small groups. But for our purposes today, I'm not going to have us do the pairs part, but maybe sometime later. But I just wanted to introduce this practice for everybody today. And good morning, Don. Welcome. So it's an interpersonal kind of meditative practice that brings together meditative awareness. How are we with each other? Can we practice this as we're in relationship? That's really the crucial question. So it has the same purposes and traditional roots as silent meditation. When we sit in silence, developing mindfulness, compassion, and liberating insight. So as such, it's conceived as a whole life practice, not like we go to meditate, and this used to be my practice for the first few years. I'll go meditate on the cushion, and now I'm done, and that's it. I'll go on with my life, right? So how do we bring this into all our experiences? How we use our resources, how we relate to each other, how we react to the current political situation, how we react to the pandemic. So there are 6 guidelines in this practice that Gregory Kramer outlines, and they are pause, relax, open, attune to emergence, listen deeply, and speak the truth. Oftentimes, the first 3 are grouped together: pause, relax, open, and then the second 3, attune to emergence, listen deeply, and speak the truth, are grouped together. It might be an easier way to remember them. So the first part, if we only do the first part, the pause in interactions, that might already begin to create a different felt sense. The pause is really pausing into mindfulness. It can help bring us into the immediacy of presence, the here and now. It's a stopping. It's that what maybe you've heard Tara call the sacred pause, that moment to just slow down. What's happening internally? Then that extends into relax or allow. We pause, we open to what the experience is. So we'll try this with a contemplation, and then that's usually how this is practice is offered. So one of the contemplations, this contemplation that I want to offer today, is looking at the nature of clinging and grasping. Right, the Buddha, as the Buddha described that as the cause of our suffering, clinging, grasping, or its opposite, aversion, pushing away experience, not wanting what is happening or wanting what isn't happening. So this is one of the basic teachings. It comes out of the Four Noble Truths that the Buddha taught, that there is suffering in these lives, and that the suffering is caused by some way we're grasping, wanting things to be different, or not liking how things are and trying to make them different. And I thought we might think about this as an interpersonal contemplation. How about a relationship? Maybe bringing a relationship to mind where there is some sense of dissatisfaction. Maybe not the most difficult relationship, but a relationship where there's some tension, some wanting, some wanting something to be different. One of the thoughts that came to me this morning is I have 2 daughters, and I have a very close relationship with one of them, but I'd really like to have that kind of close relationship with the other. And there's a real wanting around that. And every so often I can feel some tension around that. So it's a mild tension. It's a tension that I often don't really let myself feel and think about. But I wish for that to be different. And so as some of you came on and I was sitting with this contemplation, with my eyes closed, I was thinking about, well, there's real sadness underneath that. Right? So you might bring to mind, and here's where you might take your seat, close your eyes now, and bring to mind maybe one interpersonal relationship where there's some squeezing or wanting. Try not to pick the most difficult one. What we call in this practice a difficult person for you. You might ask yourself, what am I clinging to? Or what am I pushing away? What is it I want from this person that I'm not getting? And now taking a deep breath, noticing if there's any tension in the body. Allow yourself to pause there. The quality of pause can be interchanged with mindfulness, or sati, which is the Pali word, which is a way of remembering your home base. This is an internal moment. You can pause to slow down where you feel this dissatisfaction. Resting inside. And moving on to allow. Allow the feelings, allow the sensations. Allow is a form of acceptance. Allowing the thoughts. What's showing up? Can you allow it to be just as it is? Is there tension in the body-mind? This quality of allowing becomes so important. Notice if there's tension, if it shifts or change in intensity. And can you allow it to be just as it is? Open to it, relaxing again, extending the awareness and acceptance cultivated in pause and relax beyond the boundaries of your own skin. This becomes the relational field. We begin with opening to ourselves and then to others, with kindness, compassion, acceptance. Opening to our common humanity. We all just want to be happy. You might imagine looking at this person now, maybe looking into their eyes, opening to them. And now attuning to emergence. Just this moment, what's emerging right now as you bring this person to mind? Can you allow what's emerging? Could be sensations, thoughts, feelings, wanting. Emergence is the process whereby the complex things we experience arise and pass away. You might notice the changing nature of your experience as you attune to the immediacy of emergence. Attuning to emergence means to sensitively attend and be present with this instability of experience, the inevitability of change, of feelings, thoughts, and sensations. The guideline, attuned to emergence, is an invitation to make the truth of impermanence itself the object of awareness. In my example, I experienced jealousy and sadness and grief. Notice how it is for you. Attuned to emergence is the immediate awareness of just what is arising and passing away in any given moment, the comings and goings of all phenomena. Even thoughts in this moment that might be distracting. Maybe it's hard to stay with this. Notice that. And now listen deeply to what's emerging. So Margot, would you be willing, or could you mute yourself? We can hear the ambient sounds here. Thank you. So listen deeply to what's emerging. We have a chance now to listen deeply to what's inside. And listening with a kind awareness, fully present and receptive. Forbearance. Listening deeply with an unhurried personal agenda, not trying to do anything. Paying close attention to your experience. It's a way of practicing don't know mind, so that we can begin to open to what is unfolding, both for ourselves and to the other. Listening deeply means letting go of our internal dialogue, listening deeply to our own experience, and listening deeply to the other. And lastly, the last guideline is speak the truth. Now that you've paused and relaxed and open tuned to emergence, listening deeply. Can you speak the truth? It might be, I'm sad because we're not closer. In this way, the truth emerges organically. Speaking from our deepest truth, or some might say, from the bottom of our hearts. Where there's real kindness, caring, openness, sincerity, authenticity, true to yourself, and deep caring. And a short teaching from Rumi. This is a subtle truth. Whatever you love, you are. This is a subtle truth. Whatever you love, you are. And if you'd like to bring your hands together in prayer position, taking a moment here, bowing to your own efforts, showing up here this morning, doing this contemplation, however it went for you. Your efforts to wake up, your efforts to liberate yourself and others from suffering. Bowing to caring. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Feel free to move around. Please feel free to unmute yourselves. And we might practice this now as we're sharing with each other. I want to remind you that this is being recorded, and I actually don't know what happens to these recordings. Um, and let's do this sharing maybe with some pauses. And if you'd be willing to share some about what that experience was like for you.
Sure. It was interesting because I was really, really calm and following your voice. And then I got really cold, which is surprised me a little bit.
Like
so
cold temperature?
Yeah, like my feet got cold and my arm was cold. And, so I realized I need to keep a blanket or something else around here. And then, I found something and kind of calm back down, into it. And I was thinking about my middle brother, which kind of surprised me that he came up. So it was an interesting perspective, in looking at, for me to look at my relationship with him and the issues, the things that we have kind of going on or not going on. So it was very enlightening. So I really appreciate something new like that. It's all new for me, but that was really great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so great when we slow down, we can see more, because usually in relationships, difficult relationships, we have automatic thinking, oh, it's like this.
Yeah. And it's particularly timely, at least for me, because I'm doing this other, this other program about that's really going into a lot of emotional and subconscious mind stuff that, before, like 3 or 4 months ago, I didn't even think about that there wasn't a subconscious mind that was real. So it's a big exploration, and a lot of new things are coming up. So it was really kind of exciting a little bit that this is also kind of dovetailed in, into some of that learning. It really was great.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that's happening for you.
I chose somebody, and then midway through, I decided I really should have chosen somebody else, but I stuck with her. And what I realized was, as we got into it, that one of the problems that I have with this person is how they seem to be afraid of me, and they're very defensive. And then I realized that my initial reaction to her is, I'm afraid of her, and I'm very defensive. And so my defense is running. I immediately my armor goes up, and I've never really tried to just see that and stay with it and pause with it and see what happens next, because I usually get stuck in the reactivity.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting the next time I encounter her to see if I can do that and just pause and see if it's a different experience as I go through these steps.
Yeah. But even this insight, this noticing now that that's what happens for you, can kind of gives you more space in that interaction, or at least in this moment. There's more space here for something else.
Yeah. And what I realized too is what I want to do, it's like I'm a little kid again. I want to play. I want to have fun with the person. And I don't know if she wants to play with me. She doesn't seem to want to play with me. I mean, it's very, very juvenile, but it's kind of the way I must kind of I want to have fun. Why doesn't she want to have fun? It's interesting.
Yeah. That's lovely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I had an interesting experience. I had trouble alighting on a person because I live alone. And in these pandemic times, I'm not like running into people regularly. So there really isn't anyone that I feel I have a particular place where things rub up against in a, like uncomfortable way. But there are two people that came to mind. Eventually, not so much in terms of something that's happening now that I would want to resolve or feel differently, but what struck me was that for both of these are fundamental relationships to me, and they're people I love. One of them is my daughter, and another one is someone I was seeing who I no longer seeing, but who I've known for 30 years. And when you said the word allow, I felt joy. It was like some space opened up, like just allowing them to be who they are and allowing what those circumstances are now to be what they are, and allowing myself to care the way I do, or to have the I don't know, to in a way to leave the thinking out of it, or I can't really articulate it very well, but all of a sudden I felt this sense of joy. If I just allow things to be, there's space for joy.
That's lovely. Yeah, wonderful. It's like, this practice is so simple that it's elusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's just like, just this allowing opens up the space, and there's this sense of joy. Like, that's what the Buddha talked about. It's a contentment. It's not like the liberation is a sense of contentment or joy or satisfaction. It's not this ecstatic, I'm happy all the time, or that life is going well. It's the sense of just this allowing, making space for it all, not trying to change anything.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right? Not to be mistaken with inactivity.
Right. Or zoning out, as I used to say.
Yeah, right. Checking out. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, that's lovely.
I'll jump in. I could, and I don't know folks' names very well at this point, but one of the things I'm working with is just putting myself in somebody else's shoes, and some of the comments I heard, the sort of actually somebody was talking about sort of this armor, sort of this defensiveness, and that person's feeling defensive, and just sort of realizing, wow, I'm feeling defensive as well. And I could totally relate with that. And for me, just sort of allowing that, or just sort of going with it, and then, but really trying to keep myself in that other person's, from that other person's perspective, I find so helpful, and it allows me to be more kind of with them and more understanding, and it really helps the interaction if I really try to stay with them and from where they're at. And there's a guy at work, and it's all telecommuting, and I'm actually telecommuting to Pakistan, and
wow,
yeah, really far away. But he's really difficult, and for me, and I just sort of noticed this fear, and I have this fear of like irrationality that I can't control, and this person is, from my perspective, sort of irrational and doesn't really think, so it's hard for me to deal with, and anyway, so that was sort of what I was sort of sitting with, is sort of this fear of sort of this craziness on the other side that I can't control. And, and eventually that sort of eased. But anyway, that's what I was encountering today.
Lovely. Yeah. Again, it helps us to really see the other when we've really relaxed, paused and relaxed and allow. It's sort of like that space in ourselves kind of extends outward. We can really begin to see the other and see that they're struggling oftentimes in such a similar way that we are, which we don't tend to acknowledge or even know when we're in the habit mind. Particularly ongoing relationships, we might experience this quality of experience over and over again with somebody. We get our mind set on, well, this is how they are. Right? Really allows us to open, and this sense of opening to our common humanity can be so helpful. And I think in these political times now that have become so divisive, either on one side or the other, this is the antidote.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of what happens is it's an emotional reaction, to like a broad stroke of things that, without logic. And so the emotion overtakes everything, and everybody's spinning in their emotion. It's very it's worse than disrupting. It's kind of upsetting, I think, to people who tend to be a little more, I don't know, calm or more logical, or the emotion is not the first thing that comes up. It's later.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
We're just about out of time, and I didn't know, Margot, if you wanted to share anything. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
I will say that I appreciated your reminder to me to mute. Someone came into the room where I was expecting to be alone, and so I changed locations quickly. And I forgot about the muting, so thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I think what I noticed, and along with some others, I thought of a couple people I might focus on. But you said not to start with the most difficult, so I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I was able to pay attention to what I wish I had, what I longed for with this person, with my daughter. The quality of our interaction right now, which feels like it hasn't left the mother-daughter aspect of relationship. And then up pops qualities of my relationship with my son, where there's certainly mother-son, but also two adults who have always had a good fit, and we still have, and it's adapted. To a person I loved long ago, and I'm aware still of missing. Still of missing. It feels still alive, the missing of that. Because there was such a deep connection. So all those things came up, and I was aware that I was both smiling and also several times I was tearful. And just was able to flow into the space.
Lovely.
It's a lot of mileage. That's great.
Yeah, wow, this is lovely. Talk about, coming from those deepest parts of the heart.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. Yeah.
If I ask Vicki one technical question, what were the second three things that, if you don't mind,
attune to emergence.
Okay.
Listen deeply and speak the truth.
Okay.
And if you're interested in more of this work, there's a website called metta.org. And you can find lots of information on that site. And there are some practice groups that you can join, which I have done. And there's an introductory practice group, and then there are other ongoing practice groups if you'd like to join. So that's another resource for you all.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you're welcome. I'd love to do this again with you. And, I'll try to figure out how to do it in these breakout rooms, but we're in a small group here, so maybe we can just do it way.
Yeah.
And I will say, I know that I cannot join you next week. I have an early conflict, so I won't be here next week, but I will be the week after.
Hey, actually, I can do next week. I'm headed out of town, but I can do the morning, so I'll be here next week. Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Blessings to you all.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.